Jon. I'm one of the pastors here. Welcome to all of you in the room. Welcome to all of you joining online. Excited to have you with us in our second week of this Undivided series. Joining with us actually over 100 churches in the South Florida area to communicate and embody that we, according to Jesus, the CEO of this thing, are his people undivided. So if you're here in the room, why don't you stand to your feet as we get ready to read and honor God's word. If you're joining us online, wherever you're at, you can stand to your feet as well. I am pumped to jump in. We will be in John 17, if you want to flip there. Last week, we talked about how Jesus unites us to each other, how Jesus unites us to each other, how the vision from Scripture is that we are called as his people to be unified, not uniform. Unified, not uniform. This means that we are wildly diverse in our perspectives, in our backgrounds, but we are united in heart. We are united in purpose, namely to see God's kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. This week I want to talk about while Jesus both unites us to each other, he unites us for a purpose. Everybody say for a purpose. Turn to your neighbor and say there's a purpose. Turn to your neighbor online and say there's a purpose. Type in the chat, there's a purpose. John 17, if you want to flip there, we will jump into verse 20. This is the high priestly prayer of Jesus, one of his final prayers right before he goes back and is crucified and goes back to be with the Father. As you're flipping there, Miami Dolphin fans, come on. We have a quarterback. Come on, somebody. I mean, Dolphins, they're the letdown kings, but I got faith and hope. You got to keep hope alive. All right. John 17, if you're ready, say, let's do this. If you're ready, say, let's do this. Y'all got to help me preach, man. I need help. Online, you can type, let's do this. Here we go. Jesus says, my prayer is not for them alone. Who's the them he's talking about? Who is it? His disciples, right? His immediate disciples. He's like, I'm not just praying for them alone. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message. Who's that? That's us, right? If you follow Jesus, you're like, whoa, Jesus prayed for me? He did, and he continues to. Praise the Lord, literally. He said, I'm praying for them that all of them may be, what does it say? One. Father, just as you are in me and I am in you, may they also be in us so that the world may believe. So that the world may believe. So that the world may believe that you have sent me. I have given them the glory that you gave me, that we may be one. That they may be one as we are one. I and them and you and me, so that they may be brought to complete unity. This is Jesus' prayer. Then the world will know that you have sent me and have loved them even as you have loved me. Let's pray. Jesus, I think if we're being honest, we hear your prayer and we look at our world and it feels very, very hopeless. But we know you can do anything. And we know your prayer requests are prioritized in heaven. Lord, make us one. In Jesus' name. Amen. You can find a seat wherever you're at. Online, you can grab a seat there with your furry pet if you've got one, or your wild child. We have both in our household. It's one of the interesting things about the human experience. There are often seemingly simple things that are not so simple. Can I get an amen? You ever been there, you try to do something, you're like, this looks easy enough. You buy something from IKEA, you're like, this looks easy enough, right? One of the things, has anyone here ever dared to try to decorate a cake before? Anyone ever tried to ice a cake? Anyone ever tried to write with icing on a cake? Okay, God bless all of the talented individuals at Publix who make that thing look nice. It is challenging. You ever try to do that? I didn't, because clearly that's not my game. My wife tried to do it one time. She's like, man, this is hard. You're drawing, you feel all ambitious. You get done with the cake, it looks like your 5-year-old did it, right? I mean, thank God for the Publix employees. Caitlin, we love you. Thank you for all of you that do that thing. But the manual challenges of cake decorating is not all there is. You're like, why are you talking about cake? I'm just hungry. I don't really know. The manual challenges of cake decorating are not all there is. See, now you have the communicational threshold as well. There's so many cakes that must be iced, and there's so much communication, and so it doesn't always go as planned. Matter of fact, I have some pictures up here for our viewing enjoyment. Why don't you toss the first one up for me? I can imagine they said, I don't know what I want on there. Just write happy birthday. Just right. Happy birthday. We got another one here. Someone was probably saying, listen, I want you to put best wishes, Suzanne, and then underneath that, we will miss you. Hoop, there it is. It gets on the cake. Now we, in our culture, right, we have this phrase. This phrase goes something like, you had one job. Right, and we all laugh about it, and it's not just cake decorators, right? If you've ever been in that spot, I showed, I think, a year or a few years ago, these street signs that were massively, poorly, epic fail done, right? We all kind of laugh because you're like, man, if you have one job, you got to do it right. And the reminder from the scriptures and from the series this morning is that if you follow Jesus, and maybe you're watching online and you're not yet a Jesus follower, we're thrilled, honored that you're here, exploring and investigating God, faith, and spirituality. I hope by the end of our time, you're like, man, he's pretty incredible. He is. But if you're a follower of Jesus in the room, online, if you are a follower of Jesus, I need to remind you of something. As a follower of Jesus, the reminder this morning is that we have been given one primary job. And we read it this morning. What is it? That the world may believe. Jesus is praying at the end of his life, this high priestly prayer, this final moment. A dying man, he knew he was about to go to the cross. A dying man doesn't waste his words. And Jesus prays, Father, over and over again, Father, I'm praying that they may be one, that the world may believe. Jesus says, here's how it's going to happen. By your love, when you're one. Here's a big idea. The core thought for the morning. If you're taking notes, I'd encourage you to jot this one down, type it in your phone, put it on your screensaver. This is important to remember. Jesus calls us to unity to impact eternity. Jesus calls us to unity to impact eternity. We're going to jump in here, 3 stopping points along the way. The first one is this. Unity isn't impossible. It's imperative. You're like, what? It's a word that means it's very, very important and vital. Unity, I'm putting some SAT on it, all right? Unity isn't important. Unity isn't impossible, it's imperative. It is important. Praise the Lord. See, this is unique because the prayer and ultimately the call of Jesus to unity is not just about our feelings. It's not about getting together and, man, look at us all. Look around the room right now. This is beautiful. This is like the United Nations gone spiritual. You look around, there's different colors and different shades and different ages and different races and different cultures and different backgrounds. You're like, whoa, this is so cool. And it is. It's actually God's design. But the call to unity isn't just that we're like, whoa, this is so cool. The call to unity isn't about just getting together and feeling the little goosebumps and goose pimples and kumbaya. That's not what the call to unity is about. See, ultimately, Jesus says, we are united for a purpose. Turn to your neighbor and say, there's a mission. There's a mission. Type it in the chat right now. Say, there's a mission. I'm going to go ahead and continue to roll with these football analogies. Not that I am superstitious. I might be a little stitious. But the Dolphins keep winning, so I'm going to keep going with it. And so we've got this football analogy here. I've got a picture up on the screen. Anybody know what this is called? Thank you very much, football proficient individuals. Those of you international, if you're joining from Guyana, you're like, what is this sport? You should try to watch it. It's called American football. It's amazing, okay? This is called a huddle. Now, why do they do this? Someone tell me, why do they do this? To call a play, right? To complete an objective, namely what the objective is what? What are they trying to do? They're trying to score some points, right? Score a touchdown, maybe kick a field goal. See, consider, in this analogy, in this illustration, consider how awkward it would be. We talked about this a few years ago. Imagine how awkward it would be if the Dolphins get together. They're like, you know what, man? We kind of got a defense now. Yeah. And, man, we're kind of scoring some points. We got a quarterback. He can run. He can throw. As long as his hip stays together in Jesus' name, we're going to be all right. You know, and they're like, man, I kind of like you. And they're like, man, I kind of like you, man. And they just start crying, man, you're my brother. You're my brother. And they just imagine if they just stayed in the huddle for 42 minutes. And they got right, and the Dolphins lose the game. They got to delay a game all the way back until Jesus returns, right? But they felt, man, we would all look at that team and be like, you guys clearly don't understand the mission of the huddle. Because the purpose of the huddle is to go out and score touchdowns. And I wonder if we've misappropriated the purpose of our huddles, church. I wonder if we've gotten so comfortable in a very good thing, how good and pleasant it is when brothers and sisters dwell together in unity, and you're like, man, I'm online and I even feel connected. I'm typing in the chat and I get to see my friend from across the globe or across the way or across the state or across the neighborhood, and you're like, this is so good, and it is. But the reminder from Jesus that we cannot miss, church, is this. The purpose of our unity and the purpose of our huddle is for the mission, that the world may believe, that the world may believe. You know, we're doing this Undivided series, and it was birthed out of a sort of an organic gospel movement called Church United, which we are a part of, which I am a part of, and it's basically a bunch of pastors here in South Florida, Tri-County. This is all the way up Palm Beach, all the way down to Dade County, all the way into Monroe County, and who have come together and said, you know what? This world is broken. This world is hurting. There's so many needs, and we can't do it on our own, even as individual churches, and biblically, I don't even think we're supposed to. What if we united, check this out, what if we united for mission? What if we had something that wasn't just unity for unity, it wasn't just unity for kumbaya, it wasn't just unity for photo ops. Wow, look at all the various colors in the Crayola box there in that picture. What if it was actually a deep heart level unity for the mission of God? And so we've been having some conversations, and when George Floyd was murdered, we had some for real conversations, because these are white pastors of multicultural churches and pastors of primarily Caucasian churches and African American pastors and Haitian pastors and Hispanic pastors and Spanish speaking pastors. Like, we've got a whole mix, and so we started talking about things, and we're like, man, what if the church was able to model God's kingdom on earth as it is in heaven across denominational boundaries as the family of God? What if that looks like? And some of the pastors of color in the group, we've been building this unity movement for several years now. So there's honest transparency that said, hey guys, hold on. Press the pause button. If we're just going to do another one of these, like, let's all take a photo and have a little conversation and kumbaya and then forget about it 2 weeks later and not do anything, like we've kind of been there before. And it was this honest, deep relational challenge of like, you know what, that's not what we're going to do. Let's look at things. And so we brought in a research group, a faith-based research group that's incredibly strategic. That's their gifting. And we said, hey, let's look at South Florida. And let's look at, are there educational disparities? And there are. And are there racial disparities? And there are. And what are some things that are broken right here in our backyard? I don't know what we could do about the nation, right? That seems kind of big. Maybe you vote. I don't know. But we could do things about our own backyard. And what would it look like to go together? And so we're in this space where we've got pastors and leaders that have all different backgrounds and all different political backgrounds and all different denominations and all different cultures and all different traditions. And there have been tons of wrestling because we've got very different perspectives on how to get to the same end game. And yet it's been beautiful to watch at a heart level all of these ministers of the gospel and churches come together and say, listen, I know it's harder, but we go together. We all follow Jesus. We've all got the same purpose. We're going to unite in that space. Let me be clear, church, if we're going to do this, like if we're going to do John 17, like if we're going to say, Jesus, you prayed it, I want to be an answer to your eternal prayer request, what an honor. If we're going to do that, this is challenging. If you're just going to do it on your own, that's much easier. This is harder. But when it happens, it's glorious. And Jesus prayed that it would happen, and Jesus' prayer requests always get answered. See, we unite by love, by the love of God shed abroad in our hearts. We unite by love, but we unite to the mission. We unite by love. This is why, by the way, if you're like, man, let's just get together, that's fine, but that's not a good enough vision. Says who? Says Jesus. He says, here's why I'm praying you're one, so that the world may believe. You're like, hold on a second, Pastor. Maybe you're watching online. You're like, so what do? We just give sin a pass? We just ignore painful disagreements and pretend that they're not there. We just pretend that person on my work team, that person on my team, that person in our church, that person in my microchurch didn't post that incredibly hurtful comment. Is that what we do? We just turn a blind eye, pretend it's not there? Not at all. It means we deal with it biblically, directly, in love. In love. Let me hit you with an analogy here. How many of you in the room are married? Married people one time in the room. Online, if you're married, say, that's me. All right, there we go. How many of you are single? One time, if you're single in the room. If you're single online, say, that's me. How many of you want to be married someday? Keep your hand up if you want to be married. All right, single people trying to help y'all out here. Here we go. Come on, there's benefits to coming in person, all right? But listen, here's the thing. I know y'all are super spiritual, all right, online, you're very spiritual. But how many of you married individuals would be honest enough to admit at some point in your life you had a disagreement with your spouse? Okay? It was my fault, all right? It wasn't Nancy's fault. How many of you are still married after that disagreement? Why? Because you decided that the relationship was worth fighting for. See, here's the principle. If we broke unity and fellowship every time we disagreed, there would be no married people on the planet. Can I get an amen? It's like we come from different planets sometimes, right? But we have deemed that the relationship is worth fighting for. And if you're in the room this morning, if you're watching us online this morning, I need to remind you, if you love and follow Jesus, how many of you are like, that's me, just comprehend? Okay, good, I'm in good company here. If you love and follow Jesus, here is what he says. He sees these relationships right here with his body and with his family worth fighting for. At the end of the day, this comes back to love for God, which precipitates and prompts love for God's people. Why unity? Jesus said it. Because we need one another to accomplish the mission. We've got a mission. I know in the midst of this space, man, it's emotional turmoil, but we have a mission, and it's been here before COVID, and it'll be here after COVID, and we do things in appropriate and loving ways, and everybody's wearing masks, and we're social distancing, and all. We do everything we can out of love, but we have a mission, and it's greater than simply what we're experiencing right now in this moment. This is so crucial. For Jesus, unity is not the end game. It is a means to a greater end, namely the redemption, flourishing, and salvation of all humanity. Do you see why unity is maybe a bigger deal than we thought? This is Jesus's heart. Number one, unity isn't impossible, it's imperative. Number two, our unity will impact eternity. Everybody say eternity. Our unity will impact eternity. This isn't just about earth, it's about eternity. 2 Corinthians 5, Paul says it like this. All this is from God, who reconciled us to himself through Christ and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. You have a ministry. Did you know that? You're like, I'm not a minister. Take it up with Jesus. He said you are. You have a ministry, Paul says, of reconciliation, that God was reconciling the world to himself in Jesus, not counting people's sins against them. And he has committed to us what? The message of reconciliation. You have a ministry of reconciliation if you follow Jesus, and you have a message of reconciliation if you follow Jesus. We are therefore Christ's, what does it say? I think it's in English up there. Can y'all read it with me? We are therefore Christ's. There we go. Y'all making me feel a little bit unloved, all right? Just yell at me. Do something so I know you're here. Thank you, Linda. We are therefore Christ's ambassadors, as though God were making his appeal through us. We implore you on Messiah's behalf, be reconciled to God. Be reconciled to God. Paul says we have a ministry, we have a message of reconciliation. Number one, we've been reconciled to God through Jesus. And now by extension, we have that ministry. He reminds us that we actually have a specific role. We have a specific title. We are all ambassadors. That's pretty wild, right? Ambassadors for who? For God. What's the nature of ambassadors? Check this out. Ambassadors are not elected officials. They are selected officials. Ambassadors are chosen. You have been chosen. You get chosen by a country, you're like, me? You've been chosen by who? God. You've been chosen by God. Number three, an ambassador works to bring unity about from different people groups. This is what ambassadors do. They stand as bridges in between different people groups. You remember from last week, if you're joining online, if you watched last week, we talked about Jesus' first 12 disciples, these first 12 apostles. You remember they were from wildly different backgrounds, different occupations, different sectors of society, different political parties. Why is Jesus doing that? Because he is modeling and illustrating to us that we need this in the body. Jesus is making a point. We don't have to have the same politics to have the same purpose. From the very beginning, Jesus selects his disciples to illustrate to 21st century Americans and 17th century Africans and 14th century Europeans that we don't need to have the same politics to have the same purpose. Why? Because every single follower of Jesus, every single Christian is called to be a part of the unified mission to share the gospel. Jesus calls us to unity. Why? To impact eternity. Jesus calls us to unity to impact eternity. How many of you were here when missionary Sam shared? Anyone here when missionary Sam shared? He shared online, and we got to show maybe 20 minutes of an hour-long interview. Missionary Sam and his team, one of our partners for the Generosity Adventure, they've gone in now for 10 years plus to rescue kids out of human trafficking and sex slavery. And so Missionary Sam, we shared a 20-minute segment, but we talked for probably an hour on Zoom. One of the things that didn't make it in there is, we got done. I was talking. I said, hey, man, how are you doing personally? He said, man, John, it's been a tough moment, with the pandemic, whether it comes to financial realities. He said, we've had 30 staff members that have passed away due to COVID. They've got several hundred all across Southeast Asia, so they've got a large organization. He said, man, we've had 30. He said, it's gut-wrenching, it's hard. He said, but John, at the same time, we have never seen the gospel flourish like it is now. Really? He said, oh yeah. He said, in a lot of our contexts, we have microchurches all across these different villages. And so in a lot of the contexts, our people haven't been able to go to separate villages anymore, so they've had to start new microchurches. And so they've started up these new microchurches, and basically everything is shut down. And so now the microchurch is the only thing in town. It's the only thing happening in that village. So people just out of boredom start showing up to the microchurch, hearing about Jesus, responding to the gospel. He's like, John, we've seen more people come to know Jesus, get saved, born from above, whatever terminology you want to use, in the past 8 months than maybe in the past several years combined. Yeah, it's amazing, right? Then he asked me this question. He said, what are you doing, Pastor Jon? What do you guys do to hold your people accountable to sharing the gospel? Whew. I was like, what? I mean, we've got a I just start talking. I don't even know what I said. Like, we got a multiplicit strategy for theoretical and indoctrinating, And I was like, well, what do you do, missionary? I said, I just, what do you do? He's like, oh, well, every time in our microchurches we get together, the first thing we do, brother, is we look each other in the eyes. We say, who did you share the gospel with this week? How did it go? And how can we pray? I was like, yeah, we're in the process of implementing a similar structure in the moment as he's telling it to me. But it was so, and he said, Pastor Jon, brother, this is our call. He said, this is our mandate. I get it. People's physical lives are in danger, and that's important. But we hold people accountable when it comes to their generosity because we're called to be generous with our finances. And we hold people accountable when it comes to living in holiness and walking in purity because we know that's what God has demanded. He said, and the scriptures, Jesus clearly says, go into all the nations and do what? Preach the gospel. He said, how do we hold people accountable to that? I was like, I'm going to get back to you. Now I'm telling all you, so now you're all accountable. We got to preach. But I love the fact that the family of Jesus is global because we challenge and encourage one another in such profound ways. You're like, oh man, here it is again. I was waiting for it. This is the moment. The classic Christianese, just preach the gospel. Like, Pastor Jon, don't you realize there are other things that matter as well? To which God would say a resounding amen. James chapter 2 puts it like this. What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but they have no deeds? Can that faith save them? Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food, and you go up to them and say, go in peace, brother, keep warm and fed, praise God. He said, is that faith going to be able to save them? If you don't do anything about their physical needs, what good is that? In the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. I need to be clear about something, church. If you're watching us online right now, we unite around temporal things, earth-based realities, because they matter, according to God. By the way, this is the heart behind the Generosity Adventure. We're dealing with partnerships where we're addressing real deal injustices and hardship and alleviating poverty and working in our real life, in our real world. This is kids rescued out of human trafficking. The homeless, like you heard today, holistically cared for and supported to recovery and flourishing. Former child soldiers and trafficked girls experiencing the gospel and being restored with Favor International. Families in our communities being fed and nourished. Liberty and justice for all. We unite around temporal things, earth realities. We're not just saying, well, let's just pray and hope everything fleshes out. We are mandated by the people of God to come together in unity toward the purpose of his kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. But do not miss this, friends. If you follow Jesus, and we follow Jesus here at Greenhouse, it means that we realize while temporal, earth-based realities are important things, they are by no means the only thing. See, we unite around temporal things. We do something because they matter, but we unite around eternal things because they matter. Because they matter. It's why for this generosity adventure, JC mentioned it, Jaleesa hit on it as well, it's one of the reasons why we look for organizations that are both naturally excellent and spiritually potent. We're looking for both. We're looking for organizations that are doing holistic, best case, gold star standard practices when it comes to earth realities, but they are also bathed in prayer and saturated in the gospel. Why? Because justice without Jesus is only partial liberation. If all you're doing is, man, we're just going to preach the gospel and they don't have any clothes, but we're like, God bless you, he'll be your bread. Like, stop that foolishness. That's my version of what James says. On the same thing, you could get someone as safe and healthy and well as they need. And if you do not care and love enough to bring the reality of the eternal consequence of their banishment from God, that love is very nearsighted and shallow if you follow Jesus. See, this is where we're at, church. What our unity looks like is we love our neighbors by caring for their physical and their emotional health, and this is good and godly, and we'll continue to do our services socially distanced and all these different things, but you love your neighbors deeply by caring for their spiritual needs the most. And I think this is the moment, and this is the challenge of our modern day. We have to figure out, how do we do this? When the most loving thing you do to the random guy at Publix is stay away from him, right? Social distancing. How do you engage and love your neighbor with the hope of the gospel? Number one, unity is imperative. Number two, unity will impact eternity. And finally, number three, our unity is found in Jesus. Everybody say Jesus. Jesus. That's the name. That's the hope. Our unity is found in Jesus. John 17. Jump back in verse 20. Jesus says, my prayer is not for them alone. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message, that all of them may be one, Father. Just as you are in me and I am in you, may they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. How would we do this? Maybe you're watching online, you're like, amen, I see the sweat and you're screaming, you seem excited, that's great, but I gotta be honest, I'm a realist, Pastor. I'm a realist. Like how in the world would this ever happen? So many different people, so many different personalities, so many different backgrounds, so many different cultures. How in the world would we ever pursue a unified mission? Because at the end of the day, we all follow Jesus. Because we're all in him. We have various backgrounds and allegiances and protocols and proclivities, but at the end of the day, we are all looking to the same source for our marching orders so it can work. Yeah, what do you want me to do this week? Every week we want to gather together. Is that Tony? Tony, I love you, man. It's good to see you, bro. Sorry, ADD moment. Every week we gather together and we like to ask the question, God, what are you saying to me? And then number two, what do you want me to do about it? This week I want us to follow Jesus. I want us to follow Jesus. Two specific ways I want us to do it. If you're taking notes, this would be a good thing to jot down. I want us to follow Jesus. Number one, I want us to pray like Jesus prayed. John 17 is Jesus praying his heart to the Father. We see Jesus praying for unity in his church, that we may be one. Remember, unified, not uniform, that we may be one. We see Jesus praying that the world may believe. One of the ways we've designed to do this here at Greenhouse is this thing we call a VIP card. When you walked in, you should have gotten one of these. You're like, I just thought it was a bookmark. It's a bookmark with a purpose. You see where we're going here. What you are supposed to do with this is on the back, there are little lines. This is for you to jot down the names of family members or coworkers or neighbors or relatives that you love, that you care about, that you're like, man, I remember where I was and who I was before Jesus. Whoo, Lord have mercy, I was a hot mess. But Jesus is putting me back together. He's given me hope where I was hopeless. He's given me peace where I was riddled with anxiety. And because I love my friends and neighbors and relatives and coworkers, I want them to experience that same reality. This is the VIP card. You're committing every single day. I'm going to write down names on this card of friends, neighbors, people that I love, and I'm going to pray for them every single day that they would have a life-changing experience with Jesus. If you're watching online, you've got the link up there for the digital VIP card that you can download. You could also download that in the room just by texting that number. But can I challenge you as a first step, man, step out and pray like Jesus prayed. Number 2, the call is to love like Jesus loved. To love like Jesus loved. We see it, Jesus loved deeply. Jesus said, as I have loved you, he said to his disciples, so you ought to love one another. To love like Jesus loves means we love deeply. We love genuinely. Check this out. Even and especially when we disagree. I didn't hear any amens. Even online, even and especially when we disagree. You're like, who said that? Jesus. See, Jesus is so different. Do you realize how incredibly unique Jesus is? It says that Jesus came full of 2 things. John 1, full of grace and truth. Humans don't have a great gear for this. We either go full in on grace, oh, it's all good, it's sloppy agape, kind of like, oh, everything's fine, it's all good. It's like, no, that was wrong what they did. That was wrong what they said. That is wrong what is happening. We either go full in on grace and we abdicate our moral responsibility to raise our voice for the oppressed and voiceless, or we go full in on truth. Man, I don't care. I don't care if they like it, and I don't care how it sounds. It's the truth. Jesus said, no, that's not how we roll, people of God. Our mission is we want to help ordinary people become passionate followers of who? Okay? Not your candidate. Not your proclivity, not the business leader, not the podcast person, online personality that you love, right? Jesus. He gets our best, right? And Jesus was full of grace and truth. Which means this, a prerequisite for disciples of Jesus is not agreement. I'm going to say that one again. If you're watching online, a prerequisite for disciples of Jesus is not agreement. You're like, how can you say that? Because I know the first disciples didn't agree. You go ahead and watch a conversation with Simon the Zealot and Matthew the tax collector. The prerequisite's not agreement. Here's what it is. Love. What's supposed to mark followers of Jesus, what's supposed to mark the world, and it's been so heartbreaking to me in this moment because I don't ever remember a moment in my lifetime where I'm watching followers of Jesus look so much like the world. Not because we disagree. Because Jesus clearly is expecting that. He's praying that we may be one, which means that we're not going to be, right? Here's the difference. As followers of Jesus, the call is not that we would not have disagreements. The stark difference that's supposed to mark the world and make them step back and say, who in the world are these people? Is that when we disagree, not if, when we disagree, we do it in love. We don't stand out from the world because we agree. We stand out because when we disagree in love. This is a spoiler alert for all of eternity. How many human beings are in the room? Raise your hand. Okay. Human beings online. We might have some aliens joining. I don't really know. But if you're a human being, the spoiler alert from heaven is we will blow it. We will get it wrong. If you're married, don't say amen, but you're like, that's what'll happen. It'll happen. And I think what the world is waiting for, what the world is longing for, what the world is watching for is not a bunch of people that get it perfect because we're humans. But when we get it wrong in the right way. Namely, we humble ourselves and repent. And we walk in love. We walk in kindness. We walk in the fruit of the Spirit. Ephesians 4 calls us, it says we're supposed to be speaking the truth in love. Jesus said, man, you got to love even your enemies. That's what he said. How in the world? That's exactly the point. How in the world? The way we as followers of Jesus are supposed to conduct ourselves should be so otherworldly that people have no choice but to step back and say, what in the world is this? Jesus must be the Messiah because I have no schema or explanation for this. But at the end of the day, this is hard. Let's be a little bit more honest. This is impossible. If all we're supposed to be relying on to get this right is our own abilities and emotional accolades, this will never happen. If what we're hoping for is, man, I'll do that as long as I want to, you won't want to enough. If we're going to be one, not uniform, but unified, it means conflict is inevitable. We actually are called to expect it. And the natural inclination of humanity is to live off of pain avoidance and conflict avoidance because it's uncomfortable. The only way we will do this, if you're watching online, the only way you're going to do this is being motivated by love. I'm going to get ready to close it out here. We were in staff prayer this week, just praying for our nation, praying for the church, praying for our church, asking Jesus to do something in our hearts, to make us one, to bring us together as his people, undivided. And while we were talking and praying through things, I ended up reading through John 11. I've probably read this story at least 100 times, and man, it just struck me in a different way. And I really feel like it was the Holy Spirit as a word for us, our church, the church really in this moment, our church as well. And if you remember the story, it's the story of Lazarus. He's one of the buddies of Jesus, and he dies. And Jesus waits a little bit of time, and then he ends up showing up, and he's been dead for several days now. All of the hope, ancient historians tell us, all of the hope that they would have had maybe day one or day two has now been distinguished. And so Martha, Lazarus had two sisters, Martha and Mary. Martha comes running out to meet Jesus, and she says, Lord, if you would have been here, my brother wouldn't have died. And Jesus moves into this theological diatribe with her and starts going on about resurrection. She says, I know the resurrection and the way he's going to come at the end of the days. He said, no, Martha, I'm the resurrection, the truth, and the life. He gets into this whole theological discussion with her. And so she runs back and tells her sister Mary, the Lord's here. Mary comes running to Jesus. She meets him before he even gets to the house. And you remember what she says to him? The same exact thing. Lord, if you would have been here, my brother wouldn't have died. I've read that so many times. I did a double take. I was like, is this date? Did I like get distracted? You ever get distracted reading something and you've read it twice, the same thing? I was like, did I just get distracted here? Is this deja vu? Spirit? And so I look back, I'm like, no, they said the same exact thing to Jesus. The same words, verbatim. What does that mean? It means God's doing something there. So I just started thinking about it. I'm like, I wonder if they had a conversation before. They're sitting there. Where's Jesus at? Why hasn't he shown up yet? Lazarus is his buddy. We know he says he loves us. Where's he at? And so they've kind of rehearsed this speech. Lord, if you would have been here, he wouldn't have died. And they both do it. And then the Holy Spirit just hit me. See, Jesus responds to Martha with her question, Lord, if you had been here. And he goes intellectual, and he goes theological, and he goes theoretical, and he gets into this sort of mini sermonette with her. And then Mary comes with the same exact words. Lord, if you would have been here, our brother wouldn't have died. You know what Jesus does? He starts weeping on the spot. And in that moment, God spoke to me and he says, son, I had Martha's head. I had her theology. I had her intellectual assent. But I had Mary's heart. We prayed as a staff through Revelation, and I said, in this moment that's so crazy and feels so otherworldly, it's like, what planet are we living in? It's so tempting to feel like, what exactly is happening here? And so we prayed through the book of Revelation. I'm like, man, wouldn't it be nice to have a tailor-made letter from Jesus to the Church of America, right? He writes to the Church of Ephesus and to the Church of Philadelphia. It's like, man, he tells them, here's some great stuff, and here's some stuff you need to work on. It's like, what about a tailor-made repentance plan from Jesus for our nation would be great right about now. Can I get an amen? But we don't get that. We have to extrapolate. And I got to let you know in my heart of hearts, and here's what I think. Here's where I think we're at for the church in America. I think God is saying you are an incredible community of Marthas, broad strokes terms here. You innovate. You've got such amazing minds. You can create, look at the incredible services. We got all these lights and all this incredible stuff and all this innovation. Like, man, your minds are incredible. But you don't love me anymore. Church, I want to remind us here at Greenhouse, we as followers of Jesus, all of this hinges on the fact that we love Jesus. That he's got our hearts, that like it says in Revelation, man, you've got all these great things, but I have this one thing against you. You've left your first love. Church, can I call us back to first love, passion, and devotion? The only way any of this works or makes sense is if Jesus has your heart. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. See, by his death, we've been unified for a purpose. We've been unified for a mission. We go on his mission because we love him. That's the only way it happens. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to take all sorts of mental energies. Now you're like, how do I do outreach and try to share the hope of the gospel, which, by the way, with a world that deeply needs hope right now. In case you're not like a human being living under a rock, just go watch the news for 5 minutes, enough to depress you for 5 hours. Our world is broken and fragmented. We need the hope of the gospel more than ever. It's going to take energy to figure out how to do it, but it's going to take love to even get us to a place where we want to do it. Maybe you're here this morning and that's you. You're like, man, I don't know about sharing it. I need it. I've got great news for you, friends. God loves you so much that he saw your depression, and he saw your anxiety, and he saw your hurt, and he saw your pain, and he saw those moments of tears that you weren't even comfortable enough sharing with another human being, and he loved you so much that he came. And all you need to do is respond. Let's close in prayer. You can bow your heads and close your eyes just for a moment of quiet and privacy between you and God. Maybe you're here and you need to reach out to Jesus for rescue. Maybe you're watching online right now and you're like, man, I need that hope. I'm broken. I'm stuck. I feel lost in my space. I keep trying to put things back together, and I was good month 2, and I was good month 4, and I was good month 6, but I'm not good anymore, John. I need help or I'm drowning. Friend, Jesus is the hope that you've been searching for. He is the friend that sticks closer than a brother. Wherever you're at, in the room right now, watching online, if you know you need to respond to Jesus for rescue, I just want you to shoot your hand up in the air right now. Wherever you're at, wherever you're watching from, say, that's me. Wherever you're at right now, you can just pray this prayer. Say, Jesus, I'm listening. I need you. Help me. Change me. Rescue me. Teach me to follow you. You can keep your heads bowed for just a moment. Maybe you're already a follower of Jesus, but you want to respond to join Jesus in his rescue mission. Maybe you've been content to sit on the sidelines. You've been stuck in the huddle for the last 18 quarters, and you sense God calling you to step out. And because you love him, you're wanting to step out to love what he loves. The hurting, the wayward, the broken, the lost. Wherever you're at, in the room or online, I just want you to shoot your hand up if you're like, that's me. God, I want your heart. God, I want your heart. Awesome. God, I want your heart. Give me your heart for people. Give me your heart for the broken. You can look up at me. We're going to close in just a moment. If you're here in the room, we're going to dismiss in just a moment. You guys will go out the side doors. JC will walk you through that. But if you're here and you'd like to receive prayer, if God's stirring something in your heart, we would love to pray with you. Myself, Pastor Robert, Karina, some of our staff and pastoral team will be down here, masks on, social distance, all of that. But when everyone's being dismissed, if you'd like to receive prayer, you can kind of linger and then come up forward. We'd love to pray with you. If you're online watching right now, we would love to pray with you as well. You could request prayer right there. You could ask for it in the chat. You could respond on our website. We would love to walk with you on your faith journey. You can text Jesus to the number on the screen. We would love to come alongside you, help plug you into a life-giving community. Church, I love you. I'm praying that we would walk this out, that we would live this out. Praying the Lord would bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you, lift up his countenance upon you and give you shalom, shalom, perfect peace. In Jesus' name, amen.